Coming at you from New Jersey, the capital of misery, and the place where metal forgot to die.
This is the Here Lies Metal Too Many Notes New Music Review. I'm Samantha.
And I am Maledictus, and we shall be your overlords for today and all of eternity. Welcome.
That was nice. I like that.
Yes, I'm getting better at the intros every time, getting more dramatic with them. So today, what is this we have before us today?
Today, we are discussing a band called Haxprocess with their album, The Caverns of Duat. So, Haxprocess is a death metal band from Jacksonville, Florida, formed in 2021, not too long ago. They feature on rhythm guitar, alternate lead guitar, bass, and vocals Lothar Malia. On lead guitar, alternate rhythm guitar, Shane Williamson. On drums, Adam Robinson. 3-piece, believe it or not.
Wow.
I also have a note on Bandcamp here. All music and lyrics, Lothar Malia. So we've also got someone taking full creative, one person taking full creative credit here.
With a name like Lothar, you have to accomplish things, and they've accomplished a lot of things in such a short.
Are there real people named Lothar?
Well, here is one right here. I think the last guy was some German ace pilot or something in World War I.
Okay, this is their debut album. They've had a demo and an EP, and this came out on January 13th and released independently on Bandcamp and streaming.
Okay, so with that said, it's now time for the Here Lies Metal 5-point bi-directional classification scale, including the categories genre loyalty, production style, musical complexity, listenability, and just plain fun. Neither of these sides means good or bad, right or left. So let's start this review.
So our first scale, the scale of genre, true to nonconformist. I'm going to say a 2.5 on the side of true, but just kind of, almost make it into the nonconformist area. Now, you might ask, I just said death metal before, what kind of death metal? You might see that band name Haxprocess, which I found out when I Googled is an Opeth song. I'm not a big Opeth person, but it's also a very proggy Opeth song. It does not... I would say you can tell they probably do listen to Opeth, but they do not sound like that Opeth song by any means.
Sound like Opeth at all.
This is space cosmic death metal. We're talking the wheedly guitar lines, the big sick riffs, the mind-bending riffs, the time signatures. Think like, F Morbid Angel, Gore Guts, and, let's just go ahead and say they formed 2021, Blood Incantation, probably an influence. Like track 2 straight up could be a Blood Incantation song. However, like Blood Incantation and a lot of other death metal, they enjoy having like light sections sprinkled throughout in between the insane guitars, space guitars, some synthy ambient stuff. Others just kind of more not quite acoustic, but like light guitar picking. They have that they favor that Middle East cosmic kind of scale.
I think that's the harmonic minor scale. Comment down below, theoretical experts.
But every song on here goes a lot of places. We've got, mystical synth sections leading into complex space death metal guitar riffs and even into some very basic chunky riffs and back again and taking detours and unknown passages and secret routes to, just wherever.
It's like warp speed.
There are a few things that particularly made me want to call this, more nonconformist, even though they're very closely related to some of the artists I just mentioned. The final song opens and closes in this major key, which you don't hear a lot, and it legitimately sounds like power metal. Did you notice that?
Yeah. It's a lot of places at once. It's like navigating universe.
It made me really consider how far apart is death metal and power metal, because I really felt like they brought them a little bit closer there in those moments. And there is a legitimate stoner riff on track 3. I don't know if you noticed that.
They've explored many planets. So I think personally, we are in an era of theoretically enlightened death metal bands. They are upon us, and this era is upon us. They're getting smarter, these death metal guys, every day. And now, and it's not a new thing to have progressive death metal. Obviously, that goes back to the early days of death metal. But bands like this take this to a far more interstellar space than their forefathers. They've gone beyond the galactic membrane, whatever it is, at the end of the galaxy, right?
They're in the Delta Quadrant.
They've gone into the Delta Quadrant with Voyager, right? They've gone where no man's gone before. But they're still have loyalties to their forefathers, and you know who those forefathers are. I don't have to mention them. They've just got it all covered. They know where they come from, and they know where they're going, or maybe they don't know where they're going. Because tis the navigation of space. Okay,
our listenability scale, the scale of terror, getting a 2. A 2. Now, death metal always is on the terror end, so we're kind of like moderately terrifying here. We're getting pulled, I feel like, in multiple directions. So it's making this terrifying, for me anyway. I mentioned already, we got linear songwriting. We have no structures on these songs. No. Maybe they're there, I just haven't, fully recognized the pattern. Not to say, like, some motifs definitely come back within songs, but, like, you're on a journey, you don't know where it's going, you might not go back to where you've been.
You're never coming back home. We're not going back to Earth.
There is no safety here.
Onward.
And the album itself, at 45 minutes, it's not, too long. That's about, the length of it's pretty standard, but it's the length of my attention span. It's only 5 songs. Only one's under 5 minutes, 2 over 10 minutes. And the song, there's a lot of, like, false endings on the songs.
Heck yeah.
So, and I find that kind of disorienting sometimes. Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad.
It's rude.
Be like, what's happening? Is it over? But, like, no, it's not over.
Why would you do that?
On the other hand, I find this, as far as death metal goes, really a pleasure to listen to. Like, it's not brutal. There's, very little any kind of, like, dissonance or harshness on this. It's really intense. There's a lot of intense guitars happening, but they're doing interesting stuff that's, like, not harsh. It's more, like, challenging. And there's some lovely melodic elements. Like, I would say particularly I love the ending guitar passage toward the end of track 2. You're going to have to endure a long journey to get there. That might be more frightening, but that is just a genuinely nice section. So,
yes, this album takes you in, through, and beyond. 2 is the perfect number for this kind of thing, for sonic terror. Like I said, you can't have, like, death metal beyond 3.5. Really, it just wouldn't be death metal. It wouldn't. But the vocals are your standard, obviously, sonic terror death metal, as they should be. But the music is intimidatingly complex, like more than I've heard in a long time. And it's stress-inducing if you have a small brain like me. Yet it's clear and balanced. And in other words, the sounds hurt the brain, but not really the ears.
Yes, I agree. What I mean. That was what I was also trying to say. Like, it is very challenging, but it's not punishing.
Yeah, it's not punishing.
To your, it's not a physical assault. It's a mental assault.
It increases your intelligence, probably.
Maybe. Or unless, I feel like if you don't meet a certain intelligence check, it'll
it'll
confuse you. It'll give you a debuff.
You'll become dumber. Okay, next. Fisher-Price versus High Production. We're going to land about 3.5 here because it's pretty well done, as any album with a lot of notes needs to be. Yeah, in order to get such instrumental clarity and fidelity, High Production tends to be in the mix, pun intended. Every note wants to be heard here, every single million notes, and there are many notes, right? So, one can't ignore also the complexity of the bass lines, in perfect sync with those machine gun drum beats, the just never-ending just blasts of drum beats, but very accurate drums. And hearing a bass, isn't the most common or necessary thing in death metal, hearing a bass. But, this beyond that, the guitars are well mixed, and this is a very guitar-heavy album. The guitars are really in charge. They're really, flying the ship here. And they're well balanced and just clear and extremely complex. But the most important thing is no one's trying to be too loud or too brutal here. This album, isn't a battle axe like some death metal. It's a surgical scalpel or maybe a laser beam. It's something that's very accurate and very precise. So, and that's what you're working with here. Next, is there not enough notes, or is there too many notes? And as we've discussed before with this, as you probably know, there's too many notes, 4.5. There's a lot of notes. And they decided here in this album to use most of the notes available here, like most of them, all the notes that have ever been created, they used most of them. The riffs are constantly changing here. So many movements in the song, so many time signatures. For those people that say, oh, nobody knows how to play instruments anymore, well, listen to this, because these are probably young kids doing this, and they kind of know what they're doing. It takes space brains that have been to space, to understand complex calculations of getting through space, that come up with music like this. There is many. They've explained many abstract theories of space, Einsteinium kind of stuff, in the course of only 5 songs here. If you care to listen, if you dare to listen, you might understand more about interstellar theories.
Yes. So this is a very composed album, very compositional feel. I can kind of visualize them like diagramming these songs out and making a complex, chart of how, where the riffs go. One of my first thoughts when I was listening was, I wonder if they play this live. Do you think you'd be able to play this live, Maledictus?
No, I couldn't remember half of it.
Well, it turns out they do. I did find a video of them playing live.
I don't know how people do that.
And I think that I will say there's only 3 members of this band. They do need another member for the live show. I recommend.
Well, they probably have a networked brain, so.
But yes, this is very much a guitar album. I think the guitar is the most overwhelming part, playing most of the notes, all of the drums, and the bass are definitely not slouching, but they're not kind of like hitting you in the face like the guitar is. A lot of notes. I was tempted to give this a 5, and the only reason I didn't was just because when you get to like proggy stuff, they didn't go all the way ridiculous. They could have done more, and I'm not saying they should have done more, but they could have been more ridiculous.
There's never a limit.
This is not an invitation to be more ridiculous. I'm just saying it could have been.
Sure. It can always be more ridiculous.
It could have been more.
Yes.
If there was a bass solo, I would have given it a 5.
That would increase the, yeah, sure.
Okay, our next scale, fun or focused. Obviously, we're getting a 5 for focused.
A lot of focus.
I mean, just imagine the sheer, strength of focus or, dedication required just to put this whole thing together. Especially when they said they have that note that, all the music and lyrics was by Lothar there. So Lothar, I'm going to take it, is a very serious dude who is pouring all of his time, I would imagine this is highly time consuming, into creating this extremely complex music. And it's not getting a score because, some albums are evil or they're kind of like mean and nasty like other death metal. This is just like academia. This guy's an academic. He's an intellectual.
He's been to space. Or he figures out how to go to space. Weed is definitely not their drug, if that's what we're talking about here. It's definitely not that. I don't know what it is. You've got to be serious when coming up with material like this. It has to be your life. That guitar, that bass, those drums, that's your revolve around that, right? And their brains are, like I said before, are probably networked like somehow. It's like a Borg kind of thing or something. They all kind of just share the same, individual thought patterns, or just how can you really do this together?
It's very nice, Mel.
Yeah, for me,
individual
right there you go. Right? I threw that in there. For me, how can you kind of just work together with other humans making this kind of music without having some sort of connection with them, either psychically or like some sort of computerized network connection with them? For me, anyway. These guys, these are the kind of guys that probably subscribe to like guitar magazine, bass magazine, drum. They like read the articles. They're like, this is very good article about these scales. And I guarantee you their record collections are huge, and probably only 50% of those huge record collections with thousands of records that just take up entire rooms. Probably only about half of that is actually metal. The rest of it is shit that will just break your brain. So this is complicated stuff. So it's rare when you get an album like this. So yeah, so there it is, folks.
All right, let us look at the art.
Yeah, it's
Credit goes to Mark Cooper.
that's what I imagined. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on here. There's some.
Oh, and by the way, if you were not aware, Duat.
What is a Duat?
It is the Egyptian underworld.
Oh, so that's where they are here. So this is
Where it's the realm of Osiris.
Okay, this is Anubis here.
Sun god Ra rides his chariot through it at night.
Oh, well, he's obviously not here right now. Oh, no, he is here right now because it's at night, right? So he comes down here at night. So he's
Well,
here.
I think it's always dark.
Oh, okay, but he comes through at night.
Well, it's dark during the day.
All right. So there's two. Is that Anubis over here, or is it the jackal god? There's two of them. They look
Anubis
the same.
is the jackal god. I don't know if he had like little minions that look like him.
Yeah,
though.
are those Ra? I can't tell. It's too small.
No, Ra does not look like a dog.
Okay. There's like a gateway here. Like looks like there's a gateway into something here. Maybe like you can go into here. They're guarding it. Maybe that's the way out.
We've got someone, his soul is leaving his body.
Yeah, and he wants to go over
escaping.
there. He wants to go to where they
Maybe
are.
he was condemned to Duat here.
Yeah,
and he's trying to leave.
They're not going to just let you leave. I imagine. Hey, can I leave? No, you're banished here. No, you can't actually. Yeah, so it's like, and there's space outside or night outside, but it's just sort of like a porous kind of shell they're in, and that's maybe that's what it looks like. This Duat place.
I read that Duat, has a full, landscape to it. It's got rivers and mountains and caverns.
It's got everything you need. Oh, so they're in the caverns then.
So we're in this is about the caverns. Next album, Rivers of Duat.
It looks like there's a slide here. Maybe you slide down there from the overworld. You're like,
okay.
Right?
Do you like the art? I think it's pretty nice.
Perfectly appropriate for what we're, for what's going on in this music here. Because you couldn't have like a brutal, bloody, gory album cover for this kind of thing.
No, that would be incorrect.
Yeah, it would be incorrect. Right?
I guess we did keep calling this space death metal, but obviously this is Egyptian themed, which some may say has a connection.
Yeah, they were aliens back then. Yeah, everyone knows that. They were,
I can't say I'm too well informed on that topic. I'd be interested to know what they subscribe to in this band.
It was aliens.
It was aliens.
That's what they're talking about. And a lot of these guys seem to talk about.
All right. In conclusion, I don't even know what to say. This was a very intense debut album, immaculately put together.
Immaculately.
I can't think, and also very well recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty rare you come across something like this. And I didn't see any of the members, notably Lothar, who is the auteur, were in any other big notable bands before this. So. This is quite an achievement. This is a
start. Yeah, who knows what his future will be? What will he accomplish?
If these were my children, I'd be very proud of them.
Yeah, right. But you think like the kid got into metal and you're mad about it. It's like, wow. So you'd be like, if you're a parent, you'd be like, wow, that's amazing, right? Like how it's like if your kid plays in the Philharmonic, look, it's the same thing, really. So, all right. So anyway, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that bell, right? And comment down below if you have anything you would like to add to this. And we'll see you with the next review very soon. Goodbye.